Today I am sharing a full breakdown of the costs for when I attended the Christmas market a few weeks ago. So I'm going to go through everything that I bought, so materials, the costs of the market itself, and the profit that I made and the revenue as well. So getting ready for this market was a lot of prep. I had a lot more items this year that I was excited about, like bookish items, and making my stall just generally a bit more bookish, not just Rianne Edwards, if that makes sense. Just because that was just where I wanted to go and I was very excited to do it, so I went with it. So we had to stock up on my romantasy series, especially the third book, which just came out, so that was the newest book in my stock. I made tote bags, I put together swag packs, I made book boxes, I signed books, everything. So we had a lot of prep to do. My main upfront costs were the stall itself, which was £33, and the public liability insurance for the event. Because I don't need it during the year, I just do a one-off event insurance, and that was £26. And then I had to get new book stock. So I already had some book stock in, but I was completely out of my romantasy series, and I needed to get the third book in that series ordered as well. That was £212 and 4p. However, some were damaged upon arrival and I was able to get £58 and 10p refunded. So I spent a total of £153 and 94p for just the book stock for the romantasy series. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through product costs for each item. I will show you the products individually as well. If you didn't see my previous video on prepping for the Christmas market, there will be footage in there of all the things that I made. The first thing is tote bags. I made these tote bags. So I got these, what did my friend call it? It's a certain type of like transfer that you can do yourself, so I ordered those, and I think I had 10 in total, so then I ordered 10 tote bags. So I didn't design those myself because that's just not a skill I possess yet. So I made 10 bags, and each of those bags cost me £1.69 to make. I sold them for £6, which means the profit was £4.30 per bag. Then we're moving over onto the swag packs, and I made 12 of these at £2.32 each. There were 7 on their own, and then 5 I put into the YA book boxes that I was doing. I sold these on their own for £5, or as an add-on if they bought a book as for £4. So on its own, if I sold a swag pack on its own, then the profit was £2.68. If I sold the swag pack as an add-on, then the profit was £1.68. Now moving on to the YA gift boxes. And these were really fun to create. I was really excited about these, especially because I had some leftover YA stock that I want to move away from eventually, because I want to have more for the markets. I want to just do my hardcovers and then have my romantasy series. That's how I want to move into it. You see there's like a strip of light just here. So each box cost me £18.69 to create, and now that includes the 3 books in the series, it includes the swag packs, it includes the packaging and the boxes themselves. So I sold them for £25, meaning that was £6.31 profit per box. Yes, it's quite low when you consider that there's 3 books in there and everything else, but I wanted to keep it as low as possible to entice people to purchase them and not get rid of that stock, but that's the stock I want to move away from in the next couple of years, so it made sense to try and make some sort of like bundle thing for that. Well, talking about bundles, I then did do an ultimate bundle deal, which was the first 3 books in the romantasy series so far, a swag pack and a tote bag. So each bundle cost me £18 and 17p to put together, and I sold them for £35, which means I was making £16.83 per bundle. So don't forget, that's profit for 3 books, the bags and swag packs. So again, I probably could charge more, but I wanted to keep it realistic, especially how tough times are, and it is more expensive for indie authors to print books, simple as. So as much as I can keep costs down, I will, because I'd rather have more people buy at a slightly lower price than price it too high that no one will buy. Then we had the omnibus hardcover, which I absolutely love. I am actually hoping to update that this year and put some extra little bits, so I might do some like giveaways or some sales. I think I might only have 3 copies left of that, but they cost about £13.70 to print, and I sold them for £25, so that gives me £11.30 profit. Again, that's for all 3 books, so I actually make more profit with a hardback than I did the book boxes. And then for each of my individual romantasy books, so each paperback costs £4.72 to print. Well, the book 1 costs slightly less, book 2 costs slightly more because there are different lengths, but overall, so I sort of like divided what I spent and the postage by how many books there were to give me like that average cost. So we're just going to call each paperback cost £4.72 to print. I sell them for £10, which is cheaper than online. So on Amazon, I think I know book 3 is on for like £12.99 because it has to be to sort of actually make a profit on top of what Amazon takes and how much it costs to print when it's done singularly. So I make less money, I make less profit selling a paperback online at £12.99 than I do selling a £10 version in person. I get more profit from that £10 version in person regardless, and it's cheaper, which is just mad to me. But I feel like it's a bit of a draw as well, that if the books are cheaper with me than buying online, then that might entice people to buy as well. So yeah, £4.72 to print. I sell for £10, which brings in a profit of £5.28. And if I tell you my profit for each paperback is somewhere between like £2.60 and £3.40, that will explain, I don't know what that explains, but anyway. So I also did have a few copies left of the first book in my YA series. I sell those at £8 because they are a bit thinner. They cost about £4 to print, so I'm making about £4 profit on those. Again, I may run some sort of sale through the year with those because I want to move away from selling the single paperbacks at markets, just because of where I'm going in the direction. I'm sure I'll talk about that in another time. Then I also have my damaged books. So I sell my damaged books, I discount them to like half price, so £5 each. These are books where they've been printed and they're just slightly shorter in height, so everything's the same inside, they're just slightly shorter, or like the edges were slightly jagged, the cover, or like there might be like a mark on the bottom, like nothing that actually affects you reading your book, and still absolutely fine to read, but just not something I'd feel comfortable selling at full price. So selling at half price does allow me to recover some of those costs back because Amazon don't refund everything. Let me just go and clip the curtains together. That's better. And then I also sold individual key rings, which they looked so cute when I put them together. I was so happy with them, they just looked so cute. So I was selling them for £1 individually, but I sort of did include the cost for that within like the swag pack stuff. But I also had the card and the string that I used to put them together already, and that took a lot of time, weirdly. So there was a time element of that, but yeah, so I was selling those for £1 each. So let's go through what I actually sold, and then we'll go through the revenue and the profit at the end. Here's everything I sold on the day. I'm going to look at my notes so I get it right. What we did is I printed off like a sales tracking sheet that my friend was in charge of, and then I will use that to put this information together. Now, one thing we did think to do for next year is that there were quite a few people that were interested, but they only read Kindle, and so we gave them like bookmarks which have my QR code on, the information on, and that so sales can still come afterwards, or profit can still come afterwards based on what people do. There was quite a few people that had KU. My books are in KU, and I've already seen KU reads since the Christmas market, so I'm not including those costs and profits in this video. This is purely from the Christmas market, but during the Christmas market it does actually lead to extra things like that as well, so that's a really good point to make. Everything I sold on the day, I sold 4 ultimate bundles, which was very, very exciting. In fact, I think the first sale I had was an ultimate bundle. I sold 1 omnibus hardcover, I sold 1 tote bag on its own, I sold 1 book box, 2 key rings, 12 romantasy books and 1 YA book, and then 1 swag pack as like an add-on, and 2 damaged books. So the total sales, so here's the total revenue. So ultimate bundles equaled £140, the swag pack add-on was £4, the omnibus card cover is £25, the tote bag £6, the key rings £2, the single romantasy books £120, a single YA book £8, and then the YA book box £25 and damaged books £10, which gives a total sales revenue of £340. If you're in a different country, you're gonna have to work out that math yourself because I cannot. Although I can tell you for £340 that is going to be roughly, I don't know, $420, $430. I'm doing some quick maths in my head. So then we have the event costs. So the store was 33, as I said. Public liability insurance was 26. So total event costs were £59. Then we work out the total product costs for what I sold. So we have the tote bag cost £1.69, the swag pack add-on £2.32, ultimate bundles was £72.68, omnibus was £13.70, book box was £18.69, one YA book was £4, and the romantasy books was £56.64. So they are the total costs of what I sold, of what I had to spend out. So if I add all of those together, it cost £169.72. Add on your event costs, which was £59. So in total, my costs are £228.72. So to work out our net profit, we have to take the total revenue, take away our costs, and then what we've got is our net profit. So £340 take away £228.72 equals £111.28. So over £100. So after factoring in like all the costs it took and the event fees, including stall and blah, 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 the total profit was over £100. So I'm happy this. I covered all my costs. I made a solid profit and I still have some leftover stock to sell at another event, which is absolutely fantastic. So overall, the Christmas market was a success. This is the first time that I've done a proper breakdown of the costs, and this is the third year I'm doing it. However, me and my friend do believe that this is our best year yet. So I think the first year I just about broke even, or maybe I was slightly under it because I had so much, everything was brand new. I had tablecloths, everything that I now have, I had to buy for the event. The second year I made a little bit of a profit, and then I think this year is the first year I've made a profit over £100, which was absolutely fantastic. The first part of the day went really quickly and we had a lot more people the first part of the day. The last couple of hours, very quiet. I don't think we sold anything the last couple of hours, but that's fine because my friend went round to a different stall and she bought us back these. It was like spiced chips with a macaroni cheese on top, so we were eating those. But it did go cold because even though people can't expect me not to eat all day, I didn't feel comfortable. If someone was making eye contact with me or walking by the stall, I didn't want to be shoving my face with food, so I was eating very slowly for me. But yeah, it was a really good day. I am really happy. Next year we're going to make a note of how many people who requested information about KU and stuff like that, just so I can try and track that a little bit. Not sure how we'll do that, but there's certainly we can make improvements for that as well. Very successful. I'm very happy. So I hope this video was useful for anyone thinking of doing a market. I hope that gave you some ideas or some insights into what happened and how we did. Don't forget to follow along if you want to see more behind the scenes stuff of being an indie author, especially as I go into 2026. I do want to see if I can expand and do a few more in-person events. I just want to see how that goes. I've got a few in mind. So follow along if you want to see how those go. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.